Hello, hello, welcome, all you ninth age lovers, fantasy game miniature lovers. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to go through Kingdom of Aquitaine battle report. This is a mirror match, as you can see, and we actually played this in person. Brendan Hayter is someone I've started playing in person who's pretty local to me. Great guy to play with. We played at Shield Wall Miniatures, which is in Willoughby, Ohio. Alright, so we're both playing Kingdom of Aquitaine. If you're not in the know, uh, Kingdom of Aquitaine released a new LAB in December, end of December 2021. Wow, it's 2022 already. And so we wanted to try them out. We wanted to play them. So here we go. So this is my list. I don't want to talk through the whole thing. Maybe I will. So I had an Equitan Lord General. I'll give you the highlights, okay? Equitan Lord General. I just wanted a cheap, fairly cheap, mounted general. I wanted a mounted general for mobility, and I wanted to have Crown of Autocracy so that I'd have a 15-inch discipline range. I also, I took a Bastard Sword of Touch of Greatness so that I would always have, he always has 4 strength, 6 AP, 2. And I thought that was pretty good for grinding, okay? I know the land, you could do some crazy Kingdom of Aquitaine builds with the Aquitaine Lords on Destriers or on Pegasus or on Hippogriffs that have just an insane amount of output when they charge, but I wanted someone that could, if he got charged, he was still going to be pretty good. It's really, he doesn't depend on the charge, so that's why I took this guy. And then with Talisman of Shielding, and I think they come with Courage base, so if he doesn't get his armor save, he has a 4-up Aegis or something. Anyway, I took Valor. After playing with Valor, I'm not sold on Valor. I'm not sure it's a good choice. Depends on who you're playing against. Yes, I knew I was playing against Kingdom of Aquitaine. I didn't want to build a list specifically to counter Kingdom of Aquitaine. I wanted to build a list that would be my basic Kingdom of Aquitaine list that I would take to a tournament that I would just play against anyone. But I'm not sold on Valor. Anyway, moving on. Then I had Aquitaine Lord on foot with Tristan's Resolve. And he was a paladin with excellence. And the new rules, so paladin gives him divine attacks. He can't be the general, but that's cool. And he, with excellence, he also, if he issues a duel, the duel has to basically be accepted. So I thought with a combination of Tristan's Resolve, where I can break enemy magic weapons, that would be a good combo. And then I had a BSB Legion stand with double Legion Standard, a Castellan, and Justice. Justice is a virtue that if the unit he's in takes wounds, he gets that many of attacks at initiative 0, but only up to 3. So I thought that would be kind of cool. And then I had another folk hero that was a cleric as a faith. The intention was to have run this folk hero as a cleric in the same unit as this Aquitaine Lord on foot, so that he has Black Knight's Tabard, so he was going to be able to just take on enemy characters. Enemy characters aren't really going to be able to kill him in one turn, and then the next turn a folk hero cleric could just bring back another wound. So that was basically the intent. We'll go through the battle. I'm not really sold on whether or not that's a good combo or not. Then I took a Damsel Adept with Divination and Damsel Apprentice on Shamanism because I really wanted the #1 spell from Shamanism, which is called Awaken the Beast, I believe. And then I took the Magical Heirloom because I thought I would need a way to regenerate Orison tokens. But anyway, I'll talk about that later. Maybe. We'll see. Core, I had Feudal Knights with Stalker Standard. This is where my general goes in, because if you look at the rest of my list, this is the only unit of mounted knights that I have. Then I have 49 Lowborn Levies with a spear. I had a block of levies with shields, so they have parry. Then for special, I had 28 men at arms as Forlorn Knights, which had the Banner of Roland and a Rending Banner. Then I had a Reliquary, a Trebuchet, a Scorpion, and a Fey Knight, Field, and Stone to round out my list. All right, and then my opponent, Brendan, he did what I think is going to be more typical of Kingdom of Equitaine players. This is going to be more of a meta build, I believe. He had a Lord on a Pegasus Charger. It's pretty tricked out, pretty scary. And then he had a BSB Lord with Tristan's Resolve. Then he had a Master on Druidism, 10 Feudal Knights with the Elan. I didn't even notice that during the battle. 6 Feudal Knights just for scoring. 10 Ordo Sergeants with Great Weapon, probably also just for scoring. 5 Pegasus Knights, which his Lord can go into. Pretty scary unit. 2 Scorpions. Got a unit of Chaff Outriders. He wanted to try out the Ladies Courtier, which was on Richcraft, and then he took the Fey Knight Steamans. Stream, not Steam. Steam. I'm gonna call it Steam and Spring now. It's an industrial night with steam. Okay. So we both took the different versions of the Fey Knight. We just wanted to basically try out a bunch of things. So between our two lists, and we did not collaborate. We both said, let's build our lists in secret. We knew they were going to be a mirror match of Kingdom of Equitaine, but we built our list in secret. And then once we saw our list, we're like, yeah, we're just basically trying out a lot of things from the books. We didn't try out some of the other Fey things, like the Naiads and the Lantern. So, um, I'm not sold on those yet, just based on the fluff that I have for my army. I'm not sure. I haven't figured out a way to fit them in, and you'll see that in a minute. So here we go. We just did a random. There's some sort of app Brendan used to generate. It just generates a scenario and a deployment and a map. So he just used that. So we ended up with Spoils of War and Circle and our map B2. Here are some snippets of my army. This is what I use as the BSB. This is what I use as the pen. All right, whatever. So this is what I use as a trebuchet. It's a Roman ballista. This guy is what I use as my damsel on divination. This unit is what I used as my levy with shields, and here's another picture of them to the right. Okay, as you can see already, my army is based, I use Roman miniatures. I bought Roman miniatures specifically to use as Kingdom of Equitaine before the LAB came out, like 2 years ago. This is what I've painted so far, and I intend to keep using this going forwards. Alright, here's the deployment. I do apologize, I'm not used to taking pictures and doing battle reports of actual games I'm playing, like physical miniatures. So this is just something I'm going to have to keep working on and improving, but here you can see our deployment. So I got to pick the sides. I picked this side because I didn't want him to have the building to hide behind with his Pegasus units, basically. Um, I don't know if that was good or not. This map is actually fairly symmetrical, so it was hard to pick a side. The other reason I picked this side is because there's a field here, but then there's a field back here which is Pegasus unit sitting in. Because I took the Fey Knight that ambushes from a field, I thought having this field in my enemy's deployment was better than this field. Okay, because this is more in the middle, and whereas this is really on the flank. So anyway. That's basically that was my reasoning for picking this. Also because this wall is really nice for one of my peasant levy units, whereas this wall behind the hill is not so nice. So I don't know. You could have quibbled, there's hills directly in the middle, there's a bunch of forests, so it was hard to pick the side. I picked the sides, and then I picked to be the defender, I believe, because I didn't want him. He's got such much more mobility than me. I didn't want him to have flanks that pushed out. So anyway, then he deployed all and dropped for first. There's no water feature, so he had to put his Fey Knight. So we'll just go like this from right to left. So over here we've got his Yeoman, his Chaff unit of Outriders. Then we've got his Fey Knight, which is a green knight model put on a larger base. Then we've got his big block of 10 Feudal Knights, which has his BSB and his Damsel in it. Then we've got his Ordo Sergeants with great weapons right here. I think he used Empire miniatures for these. You can see his big Pegasus Knight bus behind them in the field. And then this is his Courtier of the Dawn right here. That's also an Empire miniature. He's got a Scorpion here. His other Scorpion is actually right back here, I think. And then on this far flank, he's got his unit of 6 Feudal Knights. These, of course, are going to try to get this objective. This is the Spoils of War, so you got to pick up these tokens. He's got 2 scoring units here that can go for this, or his big bus can go and pick up this one. All right. So I deployed in this way. I figured if I put this is my big unit of 40 lowborn levies on this flank, I can then pressure this objective marker and maybe take on his big bus. I did put my BSB, you can see my BSB right here in this corner. My BSB is here, and I have a damsel, my divination damsel is over here also in the unit. I then put my trebuchet right here so that, which was probably not super smart. I probably should have put the treb back in this quadrant, and I didn't. That was stupid, but whatever. I put my night bus here so that I could pressure both this way and the middle of the field. So I'm protecting, if he engages and comes into my peasant levy in the front, my night bus can outflank him like this. Or if he goes to the middle, I can come in and outflank him like this. That was my logic and reasoning. Also, I have Stalker Standard, so I can just go right to the woods and don't care. The woods were going to be an issue for my Peasant Levy units being steadfast, so I had to keep them away from the woods. Then I put my Scorpion here because, of course, I want to try to shoot his Pegasus directly across from it. And then I have my big spear block right here because if I pressure this center objective with the spears, he can't engage them in the front with any of these units. He's got to move and outflank me. All right. Then I have an empty space, which was probably bad. I have nothing protecting the flank of this. I put my Forlorns way on this flank so that I could go pick up the scenario because these 6 Feudal Knights are no match for these Forlorns. I did put my Tristan's Resolve Duke, or Lord, sorry, they're called Lords now, in this unit, and I put my Shamanism Apprentice also in the Spears originally, and I put my Castellan, my Cleric, in the same unit. So I have 3 characters in this unit, 2 characters in this unit, and 1 character, my Knighted character, of course, in the Knights here. Okay, that was deployment. This is just a closer up shot so you can see a little bit better of how I've been painting my Roman Legionnaires that I'm using as spears right now. Okay, and of course I haven't painted my my knights at all. I did ambush my Fey Knight, so you'll see that in a little bit. So his first turn, he vanguards forwards his yeoman like this. And what else does he do? All right, so then he pushes forwards. He's able to push his night bus straight, so he's sitting on this marker. So on his turn 2, he's going to be able to pick up that spoil of war. He moved his yeoman to chaff my peasants, so my peasants can't charge his night bus. So his night bus can pick up that marker, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? Because this unit, I should have deployed my knights like this to pressure that knight marker so that he was going to have more difficulty chaffing. This was a stupid deployment by me because I'm not used to playing with the Kingdom of Aquitaine. We made a ton of mistakes the whole game. Anyway, so there you have it. And then, of course, his Pegasus Knights are pressuring, because they have such a long threat range, his Pegasus Knights are basically pressuring this whole arc like this. He then turns his Order Wardens. He realizes, oh, hey, let's just go back. Where is it? Sorry about that. He realizes that his Feudal Knights are not going to be able to contest this spoil on this flank, so he needs to bring his Order Wardens all the way over here, and he needs to bring his Courtier all the way over here to pressure, so that with all 3 units, he can actually contest this spoil of war, because otherwise my Forlorns are just going to pick it up. Okay. Then on my turn, and then basically turn 1, I think he really didn't get any spells off, and his scorpions missed. So that was it. Okay. My turn two, or my turn one, I charged my peasant levy into his yeoman because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have any other way to clear him, so I decided let's just get rid of him. So I charged them. Oh, the one spell he did get off was I let him have stone skin on his yeoman. So he's only got like 5 or 6 horses here, I think 5, but they do have stone skin on them. So they are pretty resilient. But I have ranks, and I figure I'm going to beat him with combat res. Although his BSB is sitting in this unit, so he does have rerollable. His Pegasus Lord is sitting back here so that my Scorpion can't see him. Alright, so I charge them. I then move my Night Bus up just a little bit so that I'm pressuring the middle. Um, eh, I give his Pegasus Knights like a 10 charge, either 9 or 10, but they're gonna have to go into the woods, which is not great for them. And then of course, I'm threatening if any of his Pegasus Knights want to charge my knight unit, they're gonna take and I hold my spears are gonna hit them. So this way, I'm actually defending, kind of like the banana. All right. I don't think I have a picture of the other flank. Basically, my forlorns just come forward to pressure that spoil. That's all that happens on that flank. For spells, I get off, I believe, scrying on this unit, so I have parry and distracting. All right, I'm able to defeat the yeoman. I didn't kill all of them. I killed like 3 or 4, but then they did break, even with the rerollable. Because they weren't steadfast. And so they broke, and then I was able to restrain, and then I did a post-combat pivot so that I was facing his unit. Although that this did give him a nice flank for his Fey Knight, but I figured having a Fey Knight in the flank was better than having Pegasus Knights come around the hill. The way that I was able to align is Pegasus Knights can't see me anymore because of the hill like this. So the hill is blocking line of sight from his Pegasus unit. If I pivoted so that the Fey Knight was in my front still, he was going to be able to see my flank with the Pegasus Knights, and I did not want that. Although that probably in hindsight wouldn't have been that bad of an idea. But that is what it is. That was what was going through my mind. Okay, so on his turn, his Fey Knight charges into me in the flank. Here you can see what else he does. Okay, so on turn 1, I ambushed my Fey Knight back here in the field. So because I ambushed my Fey Knight, which is which is an elephant, a war elephant, I'm now pressuring him. So he flies his Duke over here so that he's pressuring all of my war machines, although he forgot about line of sight. So this is his line of sight. He sees the Scorpion, but he doesn't see my Treb. Oh, I forgot. On my turn, so my Scorpion missed and my Treb misfired. My Treb misfired and it ended up. I rolled a 3 on the misfire chart, so it is jammed for a turn. All right, so he flies his Pegasus Lord here. So now I have to figure out how am I going to zone his Pegasus Lord with these units. Because his Pegasus Lord is here, I can't. I don't know why I didn't try to move. Anyway, and then he turns his Night Bus around to deal with my Fey Knight, which I wish I could have taken better advantage of. This just shows a little bit better the angles. For Magic Phase, I get off Stars Align and Scrying on my unit. Oh, and then Awaken the Beast. Awaken the Beast, I actually cast. I miscast. I rolled 3 dice, and I rolled 3 5s in it. So he let it through. He let Awaken the Beast through, so that and then I miscast. So then it was no longer. I forgot the spell. I had amnesia. So that was a bummer. Early in the game, I only got Awaken the Beast off once, and then I had amnesia. Okay. Now to get into some more of the nitty gritty. I don't have any tokens to use to represent Orison tokens, so I'm using these D&D dice, like I use using D10s or whatever. I think they're D10s, just to help me. Now, something I didn't realize when I was making the army, but if you looked at my list and you count up Orison tokens, you get an Orison token for each damsel. So I get 2 for that. I had an Orison token for my folk hero cleric, and I get an Orison token for my paladin, and then I have a sacred reliquary, which is this right here, and I got 1 for that. So I started the game with 5 Orison tokens. Now, what I didn't really realize beforehand was when the sacred reliquary is in combat, it gets an Orison token back. So basically, on turn 2, this Fey Knight charged me in the flank, and now I'm in combat. As long as I'm in combat, I can use an Orison token because I have Orison both on the reliquary and on the damsel. So I can put an Orison on me, and then as long as I'm still in combat, I'm going to get an Orison token back at the beginning of my magic phase. So I have like a self-regenerating Orison token unit right here, and every turn I literally put the Orison that gives me +1 Aegis. So I have a 5-up Aegis on this big peasant or lowborn levy block every single turn from here forward. If I forget to mention it, that's why. I also have parry and scrying, although at this moment I don't have parry because he's in my flank. So I don't have parry, but I do have scrying, which helps. So with scrying, which is distracting, and a 5-up Aegis save, his Fey Knight doesn't really do that much to me. Okay, moving along. My Fey Knight charged his Scorpion, it killed it, and then I did an overrun. I rolled I think, a 10, and I was able to overrun to here, straight forwards, which got me out of the charge range of his Pegasus, which is sitting over here. And I think I needed, well, it looks like I needed a 12 to actually run into his Night Bus, which would have been awesome if I had overrun into them, but I didn't. Okay, then you can see, why did I move? I moved my knights like this. I guess he didn't want to charge his Pegasus into my Night Bus in the front. Yeah, I basically just aligned to face him, so if he charged me, it would be in the front. I think that would have been a good combat for him. Well, anyway, you can see here I moved my spears to face this way, and I've hopped my Equitan Lord out on foot with Tristan's Resolve here. Oh, that's probably why he didn't charge me in the front. So, yeah, that way, if he did charge my Night Bus in the front, my Equitan Lord could then charge his character and take him on. But of course, now all I was thinking about was his Pegasus Lord. This unit can't do anything. I can't charge the Fey Knight, and I can't see his Night Bus. So he's effectively tying up, like, between this unit and this unit, he's tying up like 1,200 or more points just with this Pegasus Lord. So, yeah. Okay, on his turn, he charged my Fey Knight with his bus. He moves his Pegasus Lord back here, which he can't see my Scorpion. He can see my Trebuchet now, though. He's got his Pegasus unit like this. He's got his Ordos like this. Okay. And you can see back here, he's now positioned his Courtier like this. Okay, so he's trying to pin and do a double or triple charge on my Forlorn so that he can break them. Because I'm now sitting on the spoil right here, and my spear unit is basically guarding the flank of this unit. Nothing is going to be able to get into them as long as my spear unit's sitting here. Okay. So that's about it on this turn. Oh, the Fey Knight did kill my BSB because the Fey Knight has to issue a challenge, and he killed my champion on turn 1, and then all I had in here was the BSB, so then he killed my BSB. Actually, my BSB's here, but alright. Next what does he do? Okay, so he actually can see my Scorpion. I move my Knight bus so that his Pegasus can no longer see my Knight unit. Um, I move my Equiton Lord here. The thought was, if he charges my Scorpion, I'm going to see him and I can charge him, but I should have actually aligned him a little differently. His Pegasus unit, though, can't see. All he can see is the flank of my spears. So on my turn, what do? Okay, on my turn. My spear unit charges his Ordos in the front. They decide to hold, because if he flees, he's going to end up here. And then he was worried that if my Forlorns charged him, then they have to flee, because they're already fleeing, and they would flee off the board. So he decides he has to hold. Well, I was reckless, and because they were holding, I then decided to charge with my Forlorns, and then they fled from the Forlorns. So they actually end up over here, and I rolled pretty low. I rolled like a 2. I rolled like double ones on my spears. So they didn't go anywhere. They just pivoted slightly, like this. They didn't really go anywhere. And my Forlorns also didn't roll high enough, so they actually ended up on the hill like this, which gave a flank to his Knight unit. So I should have not charged with my Forlorns. I should have only charged with the spears, and then pivoted my Forlorn bus to face. Alright, so that's what happens there. Yeah, so you can see here, this is a really good picture. So he's fleeing. This unit is fleeing. Now you can see he's got a flank here. He's got a rear. Yeah. His courtier can charge me in the rear. He can charge me in the flank. They can charge me in the flank. Not looking too great. Okay. Here's a miscast. I wonder if this is from earlier in the game. I don't remember. Alright. That's my miscast. Okay. That's not relevant. Alright. This Fey Knight is slowly whittling me down. Okay. His Knight bus had charged my field Fey Knight, and he killed it. It does have agility 6, which threw him off, so I actually struck first, but I wasn't really able to do much damage, and then he just popped it. So then he's able to just turn around and face my lowborns in the front. Okay, his turn, of course. So he charges his Knight bus into my lowborns, pinning them between. Then he charges his Pegasus into my Scorpion. Because I didn't have my Equiton Lord angled right. He charges his Pegasus into the flank of my spears. And you can see here, he charges his Courtier into the rear of my Forlorns and his Knights into the flank of my Forlorns. So, and then he managed to rally his Ordo Surgeons, which I was disappointed. I thought they might, because they only have like Discipline 7. They could have kept running off the board, but they didn't. He rolled like a 4 and they rallied. Okay. I let him get Stone Skin off on his Knights. Because I wasn't really going to do much to them anyway. My Lowborn Levy block is just here to hold people in place. You can see his Pegasus units are starting to grind through my spears, but I'm able to turn and face him. And then this combat actually went south with the Forlorns. Even though I've Discipline 8, I didn't manage to kill a single Fey Knight. So he actually disrupts me because he's got 2 ranks. So he disrupted me, and so I was no longer steadfast. So through combat res, I needed to roll like a 3 or I don't. It was super low, so I failed and then I ran. Yeah. So you can see here, I ran all the way over here. He opted to pursue, which I think he actually said was a mistake. And they end up here, not on the token. The previous turn, my Scorpion had shot point blank range into his Lord, and at first we thought I killed him, and then we realized he had a 4-up Aegis save because he didn't get an armor save, and he rolled his 4-up, and so he saved it. Otherwise, for about 30 seconds, I thought I had killed his Pegasus Lord, which was a big swing in this game. But no. No. Alright. So then on my turn, what do I do? I was able to rally my Forlorns, which was actually perfect because now I'm positioned in his Pegasus unit's flank with my Forlorns. I then take my Feudal Knight unit, and I move them up so they're touching the middle objective spoils, and I move my general over here so he's threatening the flank of this unit because I figure if I get my general into the flank of his night bus, then between my lowborn unit providing the CR of ranks and doing damage from my lord, I'm gonna break him. And then I move my Equitan Lord with Tristan's Resolve here, so that if his Lord wants to try to charge the flank and fails, if he fails, he might end up here, and then I can countercharge. So yeah. And then I figured if he does charge me, he'll end up, even if he kills me, he'll end up here, and then my Forlorns can just charge his general and try to kill him. So I thought this was pretty good positioning. That was what was going through my brain. Okay, my spears. I think they actually won combat, but the Pegasus unit held, and then he arranged himself 4 wide so he would get extra attacks. And by being 4 wide, my Forlorns are in his front. They're no longer in his flank, which was sad. My lowborn levy unit just continues to hold with that 5-up Aegis save and parry, because I have parry, so this night bus does not do that many wounds to me. Okay, back over here, he moves his Feudal Knight unit to sit on that token so we can pick it up. He decides to, he pushes his Forlorns back, or not, these are not Forlorns, these are Ordo Surgeons. He actually moves them backwards. Because he's worried. He wants to set up counter charges. So he's now got 3 units like this. So I can't charge my Feudal Knights anywhere, because if I do, he can just counter charge me and take them out. So that's there. Okay. And then on my turn, I charge my lord into the flank of his Feudal Knights. I turn my Night Bus around, so that I picked up the spoil and I turned them around. So now I'm carrying a spoil. There's a spoil in this night bus, which I anticipate I'm going to break so that he'll drop it. And then he picked it up, his other one up over here. My trebuchet had fired and I killed the Feudal Knight in that previous turn. So he's now down to 5, which is good for me because now he no longer disrupts me. If I hadn't killed that one, he was going to charge my spears and break their steadfast, but now he can no longer do it. Okay. My Forlorns, and okay, his Pegasus had charged my Equitan Lord with Tristan's Resolve. That was right here, if you remember. He didn't quite kill me because I had the tabard, so I had 1 wound left. Then with Tristan's Resolve, I only hit him twice, and I had to use 1 I broke his magic weapon. So now his Pegasus Lord no longer has Divine Judgment, though at this point in the game, he's already done enough that it's not that big of a deal, but yeah. And then he ended up killing me with a stomp, I think. So my lord died, but that's what it is. All right. This combat, and then my spears and my Forlorns were able to break the Pegasus unit. My Forlorns pursued. They were not able to catch them, and then I ended up overrunning into his Pegasus Lord, which is what I wanted. And then my spears just reformed to face. Okay, here's the sad thing that I hadn't really thought about, but I think long-term KoE players would recognize. I'm steadfast with minimized break checks on the lowborn unit, but my general is not. So I lost combat and my general fled. So my general fled, and I even took a wound because his BSB has Tristan's Resolve. He issued a duel, so I accepted because I wanted to fight. And I thought I could kill his BSB. Nope, I didn't kill his BSB. I didn't even do a single wound, I don't think. And instead, his BSB did a wound to me, and he broke my Touch of Greatness weapon. Okay, disappointing. Um, okay, so his Pegasus unit's fleeing, and I overrun into this. What happens on his last turn? Okay, so then on my turn, I am able to rally my general. I charge my Feudal Knights into his Feudal Knights in the flank, and I have my Forlorns here. And I think this is actually the last picture. Basically, how it ended up was the last couple combats. He didn't panic. He didn't break here, unfortunately. He didn't break, so he still has a spoil. And his lord didn't break either. I thought I would have enough static combat res with my Forlorns, and I didn't. He kept rolling pretty low, pretty well. Like when you roll 4s and 5s on your break checks, like yeah, you're not gonna break even when you're losing combat res. So um, that was it. So it ended up being I lost 4 to 16 because I only killed 275 points. The only things I killed of his really were the the yeoman, the chaff, and the scorpion, and then I didn't get points for anything else. And then he killed a bunch of my stuff. So I'm just gonna go through some general thoughts. I um I really liked this lowborn levy unit. With the reliquary in there and the damsel in there that was giving him distracting, like parry and distracting with a 5-up Aegis save was like really strong. Like he was gonna have a really hard time breaking this unit. He did kill my damsel because I had her on the corner on the flank here, and I should have had her further in so that he couldn't have attacked her. The other thing I should have done was if because I knew where his Fey Knight was gonna be. His Fey Knight started like here. I should have put my paladin in this block too, and probably my cleric Castellan. So I basically should have just put all my characters in here because this unit was not going anywhere. Like even if he outflanks it, well, if he outflanks it, then I'm in trouble. But that's why I had the other units. Um, anyway, if I have the paladin in here, I think the paladin might have actually stood a chance against his Fey Knight. I didn't really have a counter for his Fey Knight. I don't really know what to do against it. I'm not sure. I think it's really strong. The Steam and Spring one. The field one that I took, I really enjoyed ambushing from a field. But I think it would have been more beneficial for me if I had deployed it here so that I was defending this flank, or if I had deployed it over here so that I could work hand in hand with my Forlorn unit to contest this objective. I think ambushing it was not the right call. Other things. Trebuchet was a little disappointing, but that's just how it is. You know, you pay 180 points, and it wasn't that great of a matchup for the Treb, so that is what it is. I'm probably still gonna bring it just because I love the miniature I've painted for it, this Roman Ballista. The Forlorns were really nice, and I didn't realize. Oh, I did have a folk hero. No. My folk hero was in the spears. The folk heroes have discipline 8, so if you put a folk hero in one of your lowborn units or men at arms, they actually have decent. You know, to me, 8 discipline is decent, and the men at arms actually have base 8 discipline. So I thought that was really. I didn't really notice that before the battle. I was gonna run them with character support to make it like a scary unit, but actually you could run a unit of forlorns by themselves and they can contest an objective just like what I did. So um, I think having 49 spears in one block like this was not necessary, and it would have been better to try to fit like 2 units of 30, because if I had a unit of 30 over here, again, that would have helped a lot in this scenario. I could have outflanked him or whatever. So I think 49 is too many, but anyway. I didn't really get to use the Castellan with Faith, so that was kind of a waste. And I was really disappointed that my Equerton Lord fled from combat. I did forget, though, this was silly. I guess this is another final, one of my other comments on the new Alpha book. I forgot that the units with Ordeal, like the lowborn units, they have Ordeal, so if they're in the same combat as a unit as like Courage, which my Lord had, then they were going to get that +1 Aegis save anyway. So I didn't need to use an Orison token on it that turn, but because I'd been using an Orison token the whole game for that purpose, I forgot about that rule. So that's one of my caveats, and that's just something that you're gonna if you play Kingdom of Equitaine with the new book, you're just gonna have to. There's a lot of little things you have to remember. You have to remember before you start your combats, at the beginning of your combat phase, you decide if you're using orisons. So you have to decide then, and so that's sometimes hard to remember. When you have things like the reliquary, well, the reliquary at the beginning of the magic phase, if you're in combat, you get an orison token back. You have to remember that situation. You have to remember, like I just said, which units have courage, which units have honesty, which units have ordeal, so that you remember what bonuses they get from that. And that's really tricky. So there's a lot of added things to remember, and probably the solution is to have little cards. Like if you had a little card, like the same thing as like a magic card, but if it just said ordeal, and you had that sitting next to a unit, then maybe you can remember a lot easier. Maybe make a little card up for the reliquary, the same thing. I I don't know. I was disappointed. I thought my if I charged him in the flank, he was gonna break. I guess, and he didn't even break when I had my night bus in the flank, and that's because he still had enough ranks. He had druidism, and he kept healing back. I was only killing like 1 or 2 knights in a turn, and he just kept. I kept letting him have the druidism oaken throne, so he just kept getting 1 or 2 knights back a turn, and that's just my fault. The Shamanism Apprentice, it was disappointing that I miscast, but even if I hadn't miscast, I didn't really feel like I needed that in this matchup either. So I think instead of that, I would have been better off with the Divination Master and then dropping the folk hero cleric. And I'm not really sold on the mounted general, but I need a general, so I could make my general on foot, my lord on foot, be the general, and just lose paladin, which loses. I would lose 2 orisons, but anyway, that's my thoughts. Orisons are fun, but they're just hard to remember, and you need to find a good way to. I just used dice because I hadn't properly prepped for this in-person battle. Get yourself some real orison tokens. There's 3 different orisons, so just get a couple different tokens made up of each one, and then you'll be good to go. That's basically my thoughts at the moment. It was fun, a lot of fun to play an in-person battle and play a mirror like this. Let me know what you want to see me paint next. I'm working mostly on the spear block. That's my main objective. But those are my thoughts on the new Kingdom of Equitaine Alpha. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to play it in this state, because for me, like I said, it's just a hobby for me. I really want to play Romans. And I'm going to keep tweaking my list. I really like using the big blocks of troops. I actually think the lowborn levies, they feel pretty strong, but there's still some sort of an issue that needs to be worked out with combat res. Um, Having both knights and lowborns in the same combat is still not always that great for the knights. So that's still something that doesn't feel like it's been fully worked out, but I didn't really get to test it till the very end of the game. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this. If you liked it, like and subscribe. If you disliked it, give me a dislike. Call me some bad names in the comments. I hope that you're enjoying the Kingdom of Equitaine Alpha, and that if you are not, go check it out on the forums. That's all I have to say. Take care, and Happy New Year.